The little girl in me was crying out for the Southern Baptist Lord. She really was, and it really worked. Hello, and thank you so much for joining me. My name is Candace. I run Milky Roots, and today I'm going to be telling you guys all about the crazy, spooky, absolutely drop dead terrifying paranormal experiences that I have had. I pulled this idea out of the big bucket of ideas. You guys have submitted them. I put in a few. However, the scene of me getting that was incredibly, atrociously boring. So here we go. And as you watch it, if you've experienced anything like this, please comment down below because I would love to talk about it with you, especially some of the ones that are like a little bit of, alien talk. I'm going to start when I was a teeny tiny little baby. Oh my God, some of this shit's going to freak me out to talk about. I've always been unusual, I guess, and I think I've always been tapped into something that I didn't realize until way later in life that I was tapped into. When I was younger, in the doorway, any door, to this day, you guys, I cannot stand to sleep in the dark where I can see an open doorway, okay? There are these two figures that have been around me my entire life, okay? My entire life. It is only when I'm in pitch black I can see the shape, the outline of two men. One of them is really, I haven't talked about this in years. The goosebumps. One of them is super skinny and he carries an axe. And then the other one is this just giant burly dude. And like, you know how in cartoons, whenever somebody gets bonked on the head, there's like the swirling of stars or whatever around their head. There's something like that above his head, probably like up here. And they just stand there. Their back is to me. I've never gotten inherently negative vibes, okay? I don't think that these things, if anything, they might be there to protect me. I don't know. Like maybe they're like guards of some sort, but it's just these two men and they never like talk. They never like, they don't do anything. It's just these two figures, okay? I would also see things in the dark, like floating above, like pictures on the ceiling. Usually, somebody just messaged me on Instagram about, I'm gonna take care of this real quick. I just posted something on Instagram. I have an animal skull available on my website and people were coming for me. I ethically resource all of my shit, you guys, just in case you wanted to know. And if he's still available, you can go check him out. Also, you can use code 10OFF for $10 off of $50 or more till now till whenever I take it off. It'll be up there for a few days. If I don't get them from natural causes, then I rescue them from secondhand shops or antique shops, because if you ask me, a life collecting dust and benefiting no one how is that any better? You might as well take care of it and honor it. Anyways, so I would see pictures like floating in the sky. And by pictures, I mean like definitely spirits, but in my little kid eyes, I thought that they were just pictures. I would try to talk to my mom about them and she would just be like, yeah, go to sleep. In hindsight, I realize now that she believes in that stuff and she probably just didn't want to entertain it because it's freaking her out. Fast forward to when I was probably 6 or 7, I was sharing a room with my sister and I could see this thing floating above her. Not inherently negative, but I started to feel this really dense energy coming from behind me, okay? This is one of the scariest things that's ever happened to me. My bed was pushed up against the wall. I didn't have any stuffed animals behind me. There was absolutely no logical reason for what happened to me. I felt something. Okay, imagine if hands were made out of Jell-O and it was like these hands reached through my body, like got me here and tried to pull, my best guess is my soul out of my body, but I'm not sure because I freaked out before that happened. As soon as I felt this thing come through me and grip something in there, I freaked out. I don't think that my feet touched the stairs the whole time I was running upstairs. The best way I could articulate what had just happened is I think I told my mom there was a scary witch after me. And I don't know that she ever believed me. If she did, again, it was one of those times where she sort of was just like, they're there, because she didn't want me to freak out more. But I could not sleep in my room for 3 weeks. I was terrified of my room. I don't know how I ever managed to get over that because it severely fucked me in the head. It was, I mean, imagine a pair of hands that feel like Jell-O feeling around in your body. I also experienced a lot of the like run-of-the-mill hearing your name out of nowhere. It would happen a lot of times when I was younger in the shower. I would just hear somebody say Candace and I'd turn around and obviously nobody would be there. Or it was almost like it was like in my head. The last time that happened was actually just a couple nights ago and it freaked me out because that hasn't happened in so long. But I was asleep, or so I thought. I guess I was just, I was riding the line. You know what I mean? The line between being awake and being asleep. And this I just heard Candace, and it was like a Candace to wake me up, and I jolted awake and there was nothing there, and I was like, haven't had that happen since I was like 16. Childhood stuff aside, I'm probably not going to tell the rest of these in order because I'm just going to say them as I think of them. One time, me and my best friend Brooke were driving with my son. She has never seen the Milky Way, so I want to take her to see the Milky Way. There's a place in North Carolina down here where it's like super dark. You can see the Milky Way if you go out there. I'm like, all right, let's go. I just gotten my new Jeep and I was super excited to just test it out. So I'm like, perfect day to go see the Milky Way, right? We drive way out into the BFE of nowhere. Finally, I'm giving up because I'm not seeing a really big clearing where we can park the Jeep and look at the Milky Way. So I go to turn around. Whoop! And then I don't understand what, to this day, we do not understand what happened. I wish that she was here to tell the story with me. But we pull over. All I can see is this like raggedy barn, okay? Like just a weird barn. And then I go to turn around. On all of us, all three of us, my son included, Brooke, we all start to feel so heavy, like we can't get a breath in. All of our little baby hairs are standing up on the back of our necks. I've never been hunted, but I would imagine that your like physiological response to being hunted would be very similar to that. Every cell in my body was screaming to get out of there before you get snatched the fuck up. I can't explain what that feeling feels like. So I finally get the Jeep. Everything was happening in slow motion. It felt like we were floating and that everything was happening in slow motion, and that no matter what I did, I could not get out of there fast enough. Tyson starts talking about my son, how he's seeing black spirits, which, if you ask me, is probably not a good thing. And by the way, I do not mean like the race black. I mean like dark shadow figures. And then, hi, it's Editing Candace here, and I just want to pop in and let you guys know that I am only this far into the video and editing, and my app has already force closed like 2 or 3 times every time I get to a juicy part. That's freaking me out. Also, I forgot to tell you guys, I'm not done with this story, but since I can't edit because my app's being really weird, I'm going to throw this in now. I asked my dad about this land because I did grow up, like, well, I didn't grow up, but I spent like 2 years out in this part of North Carolina. He says, I told him where I was at, and he says that something really bad happened on that land or in that area, and that all the old people know about it, but the old people don't talk about it. And that's the only update that I have on that's the closest explanation I got to what I felt. Weird, huh? If you are familiar with Wilkesboro, Boomer area at all, I don't know who would be watching this that is, but please, can we talk about it? So I finally get the Jeep turned around, and then my camera alerts me whenever I'm getting ready to hit something. I was not getting ready to hit anything, and this thing starts going off as if I'm getting ready to hit something, and there's nothing there. I could not get out of there fast enough. I kept trying to push the gas. First of all, I don't know how to drive this damn thing because I've never had a vehicle so big. Finally rock out of there, and it probably took a good 5 minutes before any of us were ready to talk about what we had just experienced. I still don't know what we had experienced. I don't know if we just like got sucked into some sort of like alien vortex or what the hell happened. But it was, to this date, the most terrified I've ever felt. Okay? Human or otherwise. I've had a whole lot of paranormal experiences. I've had a whole lot of scary real life experiences. I have never felt like that in my entire life. I do not care to feel like that ever again. For the most part, I'm not a very fearful person, so I can usually talk myself off the ledge, or at least pull the bravery out of me so that I'm not scared of it or doesn't know that I'm scared of it. There was no hope. There was no hope for this situation. We still all get the creeps whenever we talk about it. My like little baby hairs will still stand up whenever I think about it. So let me know if you guys have ever experienced anything like that. Oh, I did think of something else that happened when I was a child. I saw the ghost of my grandmother. Oh my God, the ghost of my grandmother has been involved in my life 2 times. So the first one was at my grandparents' house. So she's my great grandmother. Me and my sister were arguing, and I kept threatening, like, I'm gonna go tattletale on you, la la la, whatever I was saying, just trying to get her to shut up because that's how sisters are. So I go to climb out of bed. There's this little old white-haired lady apparition, like a full-on glowing ghost who, it was my great-grandmother. It looked exactly like her. She goes across the door and goes, shh. And let me tell you, I put my ass right back in bed. And the second time she showed up in our lives, as a kid, my grandparents bought that house, her house, because it's my grandpa's mom. He bought her house whenever she passed away and then gave it to my mom and was like, you and your kids can live here. So we lived there whenever I was a child, and my mom got involved with this like really, truly atrocious man, and he was super abusive, and they would do X all the time, and it was just insane. Well, on one of his particularly disrespectful nights, he was blaring fucking, I don't know, ecstasy music, whatever you want to call it. Him and my mom were fighting, and we started hearing knocks, okay? Like, on the top floor, mind you, where there's no ladder, there's no entryway. The only thing on the top floor was an attic, and the only way to get to that attic was through the stairs inside. We start hearing knocks. I see a hand, which is what freaked me out. I see a hand knock on the window and pull back, because I used to run away to the attic to escape. If you've watched my spiritual awakening video, you know that I did not have a very pleasant childhood. So I would escape to the attic, watch my little freaking rabbit ear black and white TV, and that's where I stayed. Anyways, I see this hand, I run downstairs, I'm like, somebody just knocked on the window. My mom at this point is like, sure, Candace. Common theme, right? But then we hear a knock on the front door. Then we hear a knock on the window. Mind you, all of the windows in this house, unless you are on the porch, there's realistically no way to get your hand up to the window, because it was kind of up on cinder blocks maybe. So the porch was level, but the rest of the house, it was a good bit to the window. So you would have had to have a ladder. And the way the knocks were happening, it was entirely too close for it to be one person. So we're thinking either we're surrounded by people or this is for sure paranormal. There's a knock here, there's a knock in the bathroom. It makes absolutely no sense how this is happening. Again, leading us to believe we're either surrounded or something truly suspicious happening. My mom hands me the phone and tells me to get ready to dial 911, and she sends this man outside to go check things out. He was a real big pussy and he didn't want to, but my mom made him go anyway. So he goes around, he looks, he comes back in the house, and he's like, there's nothing out there. So more fighting ensues. It's pure chaos, okay? Me and my sister freaked out. My mom's freaked out. The dude is getting meaner and meaner by the second. Mind you, he never put his hands on us or anything, but he was just a big baby. Like, would cry and pitch fits in the way a toddler would when they didn't get their way. So he goes to the bathroom, and then he comes out white. This man was sweating. This man did not have any color to him whatsoever, and he's freaking out, and he starts describing what he just saw in the bathroom, which is the exact same apparition that I saw that night with my sister. And so my mom digs out a picture of Meemaw, and she shows this man, this lady, and his reaction was very telling. That is exactly who and what he saw, and I will tell you, that man did not act a fool ever again, and it was not shortly after that that they divorced. Now, I don't know what exactly led to them divorcing. I did not care. But if I remember correctly, the unraveling began that night. One time at my grandparents' house, this is the same house that I saw my great-grandmother in, I was older, probably like 14 or 15, and I was a hellion. I had a lot of anger issues, and I was just rude and disrespectful, and I was just angry. I couldn't be bothered by my grandpa telling me to turn my television down. So most of the time I ignored him. Well, I heard a knock on the door one night. Knock, knock, knock. And I thought it was my grandpa, so I ignored him. I heard another knock. Ignored him. Knocking gets harder and harder and harder. And finally I say, "What?" And I slam the door open. My grandpa is not standing there. And all he said was, "I heard that too. It wasn't me. Close your door." When I tell you that my grandpa is a strict Southern Baptist, no nonsense sort of man, like, I mean that from the depths of my soul. That's probably why their haunted ass house has never bothered them. But I got the heebie-jeebies. Now, my grandmother will talk about it more. She'll say that she hears people in the attic, or she'll hear voices and like people talking whenever she's at home alone, so she doesn't particularly love to be at home alone. So their house was super haunted. Now I'm gonna move into fairly recently, when I discovered that I have mediumship qualities, which I'm not gonna call myself a medium yet. First of all, the gift kind of scares me. I don't like to emotionally fuck with people, and I feel like that's very emotionally fucked. You know what I mean? Like, to be like, oh yeah, your person that you love that you can't talk to anymore said this. If there's no real way to validate, I worry about putting mental turmoil on someone. Because of that, I don't often work with it, and I don't have any desire to like hone it right now and like really develop the skill. So, but I do have mediumship qualities. It got really bad. The paranormal shit got bad. I was having a lot of health issues, and I denounced everything. I think I talk about this in that video too. I put everything down. I was pretty sure like the devil is coming to collect my soul or whatever. I was getting to the point where I was passing out at the grocery store, because the minute I walked into a crowd of people, I was physically, violently not okay. Like, my body would just check the fuck out. I would just doop pass out in the grocery store. I'd get weak in the knees. If I was sitting in a meeting at work with a bunch of different people, it was like I could feel all of their different frequencies, and it was like I was just getting jerked around. In hindsight, I just wasn't protecting myself. Or it was like their people were trying to come through, and all the energies attached to them were like trying to give me a message all at the same time, and it was just too much. It was too much, and I couldn't focus. I would start to have a panic attack. Again, I would like get out, like, you know how your hearing and your vision starts to go out before you'd pass out? I'd be sitting in a meeting, and then that feeling would come on. Terrifying. After I denounced everything and it was still getting worse, one night I used to have these little terrariums hung above my bed right here. I still have one. Hold on, I'll show you. You see that little guy right there? Okay, I used to have more than that. I used to have, I think, that one, and then this little thing, 2 little lights that hung down, like the little Edison light bulbs, and then another thing with 3 of those attached to it. First of all, the Edison bulbs would turn themselves on. I would have the switch off. I would have the switch off, and they would just cut themselves on every now and then, or cut themselves off. I took the batteries out, and one time the fucking thing came on. So after that, I moved them. I put them in my little closet, and that's where they stayed. I'll show you guys the closet soon. But anyways, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning sometime, I start to get this overwhelming feeling of like, that same panic when like something's happening. Something jolted that fucking terrarium thing so hard that the glass shattered. Like out of nowhere, something hit the butt end of the little stick that I had them dangling on. Shattered all over the place, and I was so scared. Shortly after that, I couldn't sleep. I wasn't sleeping for days, obviously. I'd saged, I'd cleansed, I'd done everything. I had the worst night terror of my life. I don't care.
What the fuck did I say? God damn. Why did I say care like that?
What your fucking scientific opinion is on night terrors, if you believe it's strictly science and strictly dreams. I do not care. I do not believe that. I'm in this state of sleep paralysis, and in the dream it was called the man thing, which is so not scary to say out loud, but in the dream, please understand, it was terrifying. It was this big, tall, lanky thing. Its body was not proportionate. Its top half was like this. It was like hunched over, and I was sitting in a house, and the door blew open, leaves start flowing in, and somebody in the house was like, it's the man thing. When I tell y'all that this thing came to fucking jerk me to hell, mind you, I'm in sleep paralysis. I've woken up at this point. The man thing has followed me out of the dream, okay, because the house was the dream. I have my eyes open. I'm seeing my room. I'm no longer dreaming, yet this thing is still there, and I'm in my bed, and I feel myself start sinking into my mattress. Down to hell. I know that that's where this thing was taking me. I called on the good Lord himself, which I rarely do. I said, Jesus, God, everybody, every fucking body, like, help your girl out. As soon as I said it, done. The thing left me alone. I haven't experienced that since then. And I hope I never fucking do. And see, that sort of thing makes me question, like, should I be going to church? I don't think so. I don't agree with so much of that. And I don't mean agree with it as in like, you know, I'm not worshiping the God that they teach around here. Do you know what I'm saying? Absolutely not. I'm from the South, honey. It's ugly. It's real fucking ugly. I ain't doing it. But I do believe that just the name God, because it is the end all be all, does hold a lot of weight. And that's where I pull from. So maybe it was that, but in my head, the little girl in me was crying out for the Southern Baptist Lord. She really was, and it really worked. Oh my God. I was so scared. I was so scared I wasn't going to come back from that. So shortly after that is when I have my breakdown. Okay. Mind you, I've denounced everything. I'm like, okay, well, building, you know, I've denounced everything. I'm driving in my car, and I freak out because I'm hearing voices. I'm like feeling panicked. I'm feeling like I can't breathe. And this energy comes through, a very pleasant energy, and basically was like, hey, it's because you're a medium. You can talk to dead people. You're not doing any protection. You're leaving your channel wide open, girl. And all you have to do is set some boundaries for yourself. Tell them absolutely not. Tell them that you are not open to them right now. You can specifically state who can come through and what can come through. And you can decide you're closed unless you sit down and say you're open. Really walked me through. Mind you, it's just this voice in my head that I'm thinking of myself. Now I'm like, I need proof. I need absolute definitive proof of what is happening to me right now. So he gives me a person to contact. And this person, I knew her, and I would say we're such good acquaintances that if we were any better of acquaintances, we would just jump right into like good friends. Does that make sense? It's like I don't see her all the time, but and I don't talk to her all the time. Definitely not well enough for me to like know any of this about her, but like not to where it was just approaching a total stranger. You know what I mean? Anyways, I told her about what had happened and she pretty much verified everything that she could. But yeah, those are the paranormal experiences that I've had. Other than that, I love you guys and I hope that I'll see you in the next one.